Well, hello everyone. This is Raouf Bishay from Bishay Photography, and today's tip of the week is going to be regarding cell phone photography. I am going to be talking primary about the iPhone and the phone I'm using right now. This is an iPhone uh, 12 Pro Max. I'm sorry, I'll take that back. This iPhone 13 Pro Max. However, that will go into generally any iPhone. If you have 11 and above, would be very much the same. If it's anything before that, it may be just a little bit different. However, this is also goes in all the major other phones. But the setting and how I use it is going to be in particular for the iPhone. So let's start. The very first thing is the iPhone become more and more sophisticated in its camera, that for me at least it become my secondary camera. It become my point and shoot camera. It become my travel everyday camera, and it become to be what I call it momentum camera, where my thousands of dollars worth of equipment, my DLSR, my mirrorless, and all the lenses, they are not available in certain moment where I want to take a picture, and the phone is available obviously with me at 100% of the time. So this is going to be one out of many series that I'm going to do. But for now, what we're going to find out is how do I set it up. So that's the very first thing. And the way to do that, you go to setting and you can scroll down to find camera. Or personally, I always go to the search bar and type what I'm looking for. In this case, camera. And here comes the camera and tell me what do you want to do. So I go to my camera. The very first thing you want to look at in your iPhone is format. Okay, format, you have two options basically, high efficiency and most compatible. High efficiency will give you a better resolution. I don't care what kind of iPhone you have. Most compatible is a JPEG, straight, just loosely format that's usually is less in resolution. I do not have any problem using high efficiency with any devices that I ever sent that to. However, if there is always a code you can get for it, and you can always convert it to JPEG. So I usually will leave it at high efficiency. Apple Pro Raw, and you can read in those, you can just go in there. I'm not going to read what's written explanation because it's self-explanatory. But Apple Pro Raw, it just basically lets you talk a raw picture. I keep this on. Now, I keep it on, but then I turn it off when I need to, because Apple Raw Pro will take a very high resolution picture. That would be a good thing if you are taking picture and you intend to do a lot of post-process after it or have it enlarged or whatever the case is. Apple ProRes, this is primary for video. I don't take a whole lot of video. I take some videos, and the Apple ProRes will give you a better resolution. Since I'm not really a big guy in video, I do not know a whole lot about it really, but it produces a large files that you can do a lot of things with it. So that's in the format. Okay, we'll move along and we'll go to recording video. You record the video, you choose in here how do you want to record what is the default for recording a video. You go from 720 to 4K 60 foot per second. Obviously, each single one of those have a higher resolution than the other, and it takes a whole lot of places you can put it. I put it at 4K at 60 foot per second. The last video I took, I choose to put it this way. But in reality, most of the time, I leave mine at 1080 HD. I'm not really a video guy, but if you're going to do a lot of videos and you intend to move them from your phone somewhere else, I would take it at the 4K at 30 or 60 foot per second, because that is really very high resolution. But then make sure to move it from your phone somewhere else once you're done, because as you look down here, you'll find that 400 megabyte 4K at 60 foot per second is a very high resolution. And for only 1 minute of video, it's going to take 400 megabytes. So you can imagine how soon you're going to be filling up your phone with. PAL format, that's mainly for Europe. So I leave that off. There is no reason for me to have it on. HDR video. Well, it gives you better dynamic range, but find that this sometimes slows the video, and it just making the phone process a whole lot of stuff that usually it does not process. And I have not seen yet really any difference between it, so I leave it off. But you're welcome to keep it on. That's up to you. And lock camera, that means that you lock your camera, so automatically switch my camera while you're recording video, and I leave this off as is. All right, let's go back again and go to the next one. Stereo sound, I always keep mine on. Preserve setting, I keep mine off, and you can split the difference in here because and that's control a lot of things. A lot of people like to turn it on, for example, the camera mode. Basically, what that does is, if last time you choose to I don't know, shoot a video. So the last time you did something with the camera was a video. Well, it will lock that. So next time you open the camera, rather than that would default back to default, which is a camera, it will default to video, okay? If you took a picture, it will be the same thing. It will lock it in for the last time that you did. Some people like to do this, especially people that are using video constantly. They want it always to revert back to video, so they keep that. Creative control, and we'll talk about that later on, but creative control, it allows you to do some stuff with the picture, like normal or, I don't know, give it some filtering, basically. Macro control is the same thing. Macro control is using the micro camera. You have the camera for at least the iPhone Max Pro has 3 cameras. Has a normal camera, has a tele converter camera, and then has also a wide angle camera. So anyhow, this is just tell you if I use a micro control, again, I want to keep it on. I want to default back to the default. Exposure adjustment. If you do a little bit of exposure adjustment, we will talk about that later on, at least in this session. I will tag in it just a little bit. Night mode is the night mode of the camera. Portrait mode, and again, it's portrait mode. I would like to reserve that. That would be the last time I used the portrait. What kind of setting I have, and it will revert back to it. Apple Pro mode, I keep that because I said I shoot in RAW. And Apple ProRes, I don't do much with it. Live photo, I leave it off, but we'll talk about live photo later on in this session. Okay, now, volume up for burst. And we'll talk about this as I'm going along, but basically, you can use the volume up button, and when you push it, it will give you a burst photo. So it will give you several photos in succession. You use that for sport, for example. Scan QR, I keep that on so I can scan QR and take me into the places that I want to go to, whether it's a website or some email or whatever the case is. Show detected text. We'll talk about that a little bit, but the iPhone becomes so sophisticated that if you can point the camera to a text, it can detect the text, and later on, even in the picture, you can actually copy and paste this text, or you can do anything else you want to do with it. Grid, I keep mine on, and we'll talk that about photo composition and the rule of the third. Mirror front camera. I mirror my front camera so you can, if I'm wearing a shirt with some writing, you do not see it upside down, you know what I mean? And you don't see my right side as my left side as the right side. So I mirror my front camera. By the way, in general, front camera has lower resolution than the back camera. So at any given time, you can take the picture with the back camera. That's what you want to do. View outside frame is to view what's outside the frame that you're taking a picture of. Photographic style, you can read about it, but basically that tells you a few things that you can adjust in it. I prioritize fast shooting if I'm taking a sequential of shooting. Lens correction, I keep it on, and that will help in some of the vignette that you see. A micro control, I keep it on, and that's where I can do a micro photograph. By the way, my iPhone become really my micro lens, very much so. As a matter of fact, I hardly use my 100 millimeter micro lens with my mirrorless camera because I use my iPhone instead for almost all my macro photography. All right, so that is in here just for setting. Now let's talk about the camera itself. You can start and do the camera in 3 different ways. One, you can, here is the camera, you can click in it, and now I'm in the camera selection, and I can move on and do whatever else I need to do. Or you can also, while the phone is off, and I can't do that with the screen right now, but while the phone off, if you swap from right to left, the camera will come in, will start. Also, if you go up to the control panel by swapping down, and you can scroll down in here, and you can find the camera, and you can take a picture also with it using it this way. I don't use that often at all right? You can swap from, so let's go to the camera, and let's talk about shooting. Activate shutter. Okay, you are looking at the camera, doesn't matter where you are. You can take a picture by just clicking the shutter, right? And you can see a presentation of it in here. Or you can take a picture by clicking any of the right or left volume button, and that will take also a picture. A third way to take a picture would be using a remote, and you can get a cheap remote for about $5-6 from Amazon, or if you have an iWatch, you can actually use it for a remote. So this is the several ways that you can do that. But also you can put it in, and if you scroll down here in photo, and you can see, let's look at the screen here for a little bit as we're talking through this. This is just what is the default to photo as. Right here, I see a macro because I can activate the macro or leave the macro off. So you can see the difference in the macro and macro off, okay? Then you can zoom in the camera and zoom in something that you are doing. And you can zoom by 2 things. You can pinch and zoom. I don't recommend that. I'll tell you why in just a second, okay? Or you can just hold up in here and you can zoom to there. Okay, so for the iPhone, anything to up to 3x is an actual zoom. You are using the zoom lens itself. This is better quality that you will get. You can go to digital zoom up to 15x, but then you start losing some of the quality. The 0.1, the 0.5, that's basically telling it to use a wide angle lens. Right, so this is for that part. All right. In the top in here, you will have the live mode. Okay, so the live mode, you click it off or on. Live mode on, it will take a picture, but it will have like a few second video. So I'm gonna try to take a picture in here with live mode, and I'm kind of move the phone. Okay. So if we go back in here to see the live video right here, the live camera, I have, if I hold it down, well, this is, if I hold it down here, you can see what I've been doing. It's just a few seconds worth of this, but also I can go ahead and I'm gonna delete this because obviously I do not need it. But in live video, in live photo, you can loop, you can bounce, you can do long exposure and off. What does that mean? You can loop it. If you click in it, it will be just like a loop for a video. You can balance it, and it's like a bounce up and down. Now, a long exposure, it will kind of blur it. It will pretend that you are talking a long exposure of that. That is the technique I use for shooting waterfall and make the water smooth. You can see that a lot in professional photographers. They do this. We do that when you go in there and shoot waterfall and it's smooth. So you can see in here, well, as simple as long exposure, didn't do really much of editing, and it looks already like washed out. And by the way, this is, I was gonna delete it, now I'm gonna keep it. And the reason I keep it as a long exposure because I can use that in my other photograph as texture or a background. All right, let's go back again and see what else we have in there. We have RAW, whether you want to shoot in RAW or not. Now, I keep my RAW off usually, unless I want to shoot in RAW, because that will take a whole lot of of memory. You know what I mean? It will keep you run out of memory really fast. So one of the things I recommend also, guys, that please, when you start taking using your phone as really your camera, start finding a way to take this move the photo to any number of ways outside of your phone. So you can move it in through Dropbox or through any number of other surfaces, move it out to your computer using iTunes or whatever methodology that you will do. All right, let's look at the left upper side of the screen, flash. I want to flash on or off, or I hold the flash down, then it will give me an option whether I have it off or on. So, okay, I'm gonna keep it off for now or on, whatever the case is. The next one to it, it's talking about night mode. And you gotta really take the camera to do light mode. You see, as you said, I have my flash as auto, so when I go up here, it already turned it automatically on. All right, now night mode, if it's at night and you switch it on, it will give you, I'm gonna try to keep it this way. So here I can take a picture up to 2 seconds. But if the phone detected to be in a tripod, not sure this will work or not, let's try it. Now I have, yeah, it's not, okay, here we go. Now I can take a whole lot more, well, that's up to 3 seconds. But you can take up to 30 seconds if it detected that it's in, that it is on tripod. I'll go through a whole lot of this later on in different other aspect. I don't want to make this very long, but then we'll talk about night photograph. We'll talk about, as a matter of fact, I'm planning probably a night trip where I will use light strikes and light painting using the iPhone, and possibly Milky Way using the iPhone and so forth. And we'll look in detail more about that. This is just more of introduction in what you have available and what you do not have available. Okay, let's move on to the bottom of the screen for now. That's when you choose what you want to do with your iPhone. Time lapse, you can do time lapse. Slow motion, it is a slow motion videos that you can take. Cinematic, it takes, this is really good. It takes, it requires flash, and it really makes a good cinematic video. Video is your normal video, and that depends on what resolution you have it on. Photo, obviously, it's photo. Portrait mode. Portrait mode, you have several other things you can do. Natural light, you can do studio light, and as you move, you know, I'm holding and just moving in all kind of different light that I can see, and you can see the effect right in front of your eyes, what you like to do, okay? Bano. That's really an interesting thing, and I use that a lot for landscape photography. But as you can see, the arrow in here is pointing from left to right. It means it's saying that if you want to take a Bano picture, a wide angle Bano picture, so if I want to take a picture right here, and I'm going to start it, and then I start to moving to the side of the arrow, and it's telling you to keep the arrow, you know, somewhere around the line, and then I can stop the sequence wherever I want it. This is how I want it. If you click on the arrow, then you move the other way. So if I want to move the other way, then again, I will do that, and then it gives you some kind of visual presentation, trying to keep the arrow where the arrow is right in a straight line. It's kind of guide, you know what I mean? You can work with that after in post process. But also you can take it upside down, or you take it in particular by moving the camera up. Then I can take a picture, and I start moving from bottom to top to take a picture, Bano picture. And again, you click in here and it's done. And it would be the same thing. You can move from the top to the bottom, taking a Bano picture this way. So these are the different ways to use the Bano picture. And if we look at our pictures, you see here is the Bano picture vertical. Here is the Bano picture vertical this is from top to bottom. This from bottom to top. This is from left to right. And this is right to left. So that gives you an idea in all the pictures that you are taking with those. All right. Let's go back again to our camera. I keep it in video so it can make it, make it simple. And this in here is going to do, it will switch the camera to the front camera. And as I said, front camera is lower resolution, so I try to use the back camera as often as I can. All right. Now, if you scroll, or if you can look in here at the little arrow up in the top, if you click in it, now you see all these things in the bottom. And these are basically, again, flash, again, night mode, you got your live. But if you click on those like 3 or 4 square, that will give you the different filter. So it gives you vibrant, and you can see in here, I'm gonna move it slowly so you see the difference between them. Rich, warm, cool, and that's just to give you an idea that you can even use filter even through the time you are taking picture. I usually leave it at standard because I do my post process and best process. Okay, now 4x3. This is what kind of crop you want. You have the square, which is suitable for some of the social media like Instagram. You have 4x3, that is a standard, which I have, and then you have 16:9, which is a wide view. And again, you choose them by just clicking in them and decide which methodology you want to use. All right, the plus and minus, those are user friendly. So the plus and minus are the exposure compensation. Okay, let's talk about exposure in here a little bit. Exposure, it looks at the dynamic range of the photograph. It looks at the light and the dark, or as we call it as a photographer, it talks about light and shadow. Okay, so the light and dark or light and shadow, what am I exposing for? Most of the camera will expose somewhere to little bit under expose, so you do not use highlight. Highlight and shadow is the terminology for photographer. All right. So when you expose for the iPhone, I noticed that the iPhone tended to expose in the middle ground and little bit toward the highlight. Well, highlight, if you blow up the highlight, you can't recover them. But you can recover shadow if you have it in underexposed. So what I usually do is, first of all, to take a phone, you want to click right in the center or where you want the lighting to be. And as I click, look at the different lighting that comes in. I'm exposed to different lighting. So right here, I'm exposing to the light coming from the window. Right here, I'm exposing to my phone. Now, once you click in here, you get two things. Within this light in the right-hand side, I can move up to do compensation to go toward the light. I can go down to make it darker. Or you can look in here at exposure and look what happened. If I move it toward the left, I'm exposing for the shadow. If I move it toward the right, I'm exposing for the highlight. Well, you can see if I'm exposing for the highlight, I'm losing a whole lot of detail in the highlight. If you expose for the shadow, and it's come too dark, you can always bring that back up without losing detail in the post process. As a matter of fact, most of the time you're going to be like for night photography, when we look at the iPhone and so forth, you'll find out that we're exposing to the dark, and then we'll bring everything else back in post process. I usually will keep it at minus 0.3. I found out that this is a very good spot for me that give you the most dynamic range there is. But for now, we're going to reset it back to make sure that everything is reset back. So that's really it for as I said again, when you click in this, you can actually move up or move down to change your exposure, and you can see that from that. That's just an easy, some other ways to do it. I am gonna just call it at this point for that particular lesson. As I said, this was an introduction, no more or less, about the general use of the iPhone camera. We will look at specific later on and the editing later on. Exposure compensation is going to be very important. most of the people think, well, the phone doesn't take a good picture. It's not as good as that. Well, how you do your exposure? I mean, you got the threes in there. Do your exposure correctly. And by the way, I didn't talk about the grids. In the grid in here, you talk about the role of the third. If I'm taking picture of an item, let's say my coffee cup in here, I want it to intersect always with one of these. So here is a picture, and here is a picture. Well, which one is better? Well, it's all subjective, again. And but use those rules of photography, which we'll use later on as we talk more specific about that. I hope you enjoy that. Please like and share, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you. Bye-bye.